Hey, what is up guys? Calum or Calum's Fish Tanks, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys an update on this tank. If you saw me scape it in the last video, which I'll put a link up to there, it's now 3 weeks old and I've made quite a couple changes. I added some new plants, as well as I realized in the making of this tank there was quite a few plants that I really like in this tank that I'm really excited about that I didn't show you guys. So today I'm going to show you guys what else I added and a couple of things I missed, as well as we're going to add some new plants to this tank to make it look a little bit more full. So like I mentioned, this tank is now 3 weeks old, and honestly I haven't really had any problems yet so far. Everything's running super smoothly. Not even any sign of brown algae, which is usually pretty common in new aquariums. I haven't had any of that at all. Everything's going super good. I did a water change yesterday and I had to scrape the glass for the first time, but it wasn't enough to like block the view or anything. There was just a tiny bit of algae there. But I expect brown algae to probably come in the next week or so I decided I'd get you guys a couple good shots of this tank before that does happen, and get an update of it before it maybe becomes covered in algae. So to maintain this tank, since it is newer, I usually up the amount of water changes. So for the first week of this tank and the second week, I was doing water changes about every second day, doing about 30 to 40% water changes, and that just ensures the water is, stable and the same qualities as my tap. And this is something I always do with all my new aquariums. I really up the amount of water changes in the first couple of weeks and then slow it down later on. This week I've probably only done about 2 or 3, and the week after I'm gonna try doing 1 a week like I usually do on all of my tanks. So let's talk about what other plants I got for this tank. The first one I got was Liliopsis braziliensis, or pygmy chainsword. This is a super easy carpeting plant, probably the easiest out there, or one of the easiest out there, and it basically is a little sword that will carpet up and take up the whole area. I planted it in this area here because I found it was just a little weird with only buse on the floor, so I decided I'd add some in and they'd grow in between each other and it would give it a more natural look. So I'm excited to see how that turns out, and if it will carpet, great. If it won't, oh well, the buse will take over eventually. So those plants came from Tom from Planted Aquaria. If you guys don't know about Planted Aquaria, they're a Canadian local fish store located in Oakville, and they also ship plants and fish Canada-wide, so I'll put a link to them down below in the description, because a lot of these plants I'm going to show you guys today came from those guys. I also got some miniature bucephalandra. So these ones here, I forget if they are just plain old mini or mini bibless. I got 2 different kinds, so here's one of them. In this clump I split into 2 and put it in between these rocks over here. There you can see one of my dwarf chain loaches saying hi. The other one actually came attached to mesh, so you can see I just sat it there on the rocks, and eventually it should hopefully cover up that whole mesh and you won't be able to see it. But I kind of molded it around the rocks to hold it in place there, and I'm super excited about this little kind because it's super tiny and super pretty, and I think it's going to be a great detail plant. The dwarf lilies are doing really good. These are the ones I got from my local fish store, and I actually had to trim off a couple recently because I want to keep them around this height. I don't want them too much taller than the needle leaf java fern behind them, and I kind of want them, peeking out underneath it. So now I've headed around to the back of the tank, and this is where I have some more lilies. This one was another one I got from Planted Aquarium, and this is red tiger lotus. And as you can see, it looks really good. And there's a second one at the back, which I got from my local fish store, which I'm not exactly sure if it's the red tiger lotus or the green, so I decided to get this one as well, just in case. And then over on this side here, we have another one of the lilies I got from my local fish store. Oh, and back here, I don't know how well you can see that, but right there's a little something sticking out of the substrate, and that is a Barclaya longifolia bulb. This is one of my favorite plants. It gets really big, but it's the easiest red plant out there. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's gonna sprout. It had a little bit of melting, so I'm a little worried about it because it was a plant I'm really excited for, but hopefully it turns around and that stuff sprouts out eventually. Right here, I have one of the swords I had initially planted in here, and this was from Aquascape Room. This is Echinodorus Yellow Sun, and it's a plant I am super excited for. You can see it's got light green leaves, which I think will turn a bit yellow later on. And I've got that one there, and then there's a little one hidden away. And then this is another sword I got. You can just see how red that leaf is. This is Echinodorus Red Haiti Pearl. And the color is absolutely crazy. You can see on the immersed grown leaves, they're like a bright green, but the new stuff is coming in this deep red, and I can't wait to see this stuff up at the top of the tank with the Lagonendra Miboldi red. So like I mentioned, this tank is coming up on 3 weeks old, so it's almost time to start adding some fish in here. There is a couple of fish in here already. You can see a couple back there. I've got 2 cardinal tetras from my old school that, oh god, how long ago was that? I had an ick infection like 3 years ago during midterm season and I didn't catch it quick enough, and then I had 2 survivors left. And then I've got 1 lonely tiger barb that bullied all the other ones, and 2 dwarf chain loaches, which I know the dwarf chain loaches I definitely want to get more of. And then there's also some autosynclus and some shrimp in here as well. But I wanted to know what kind of fish you guys think I should add. I don't think I'm going to add any more tiger barbs because I think that would just cause a lot of problems, especially the one in here being probably so much bigger because he is full size. He'd probably beat up the other ones. I definitely want to add more of the dwarf chain loaches. These are one of, if not my favorite fish. They're so much fun to watch and have so much personality. And I only have 2 in here and would like to get a big school. And then I'll probably add some more cardinal tetras as well. But let me know down below if there's anything else you think I should add in here in terms of fish. Okay, so I've got a couple different species of plants I'm gonna add in here. Some pretty cool ones, so I'm gonna show you guys them. The first one, not very cool. This is Anubias Nana Petite. I'm sure you guys have all seen this before. Super easy one, and these plants were all taken out of my immerse setups, but I've got some really small ones that should help me add a bit of detail. Then the other one, which I'm really excited about, I got this thing months ago from Planted Aquaria, and it's just been sitting in my bin, my immerse bin, and I've been waiting for a project to use this stuff, and this is, oh, I don't know how well you'll be able to see that. This is Anubias Nana Chili or Jalapeno. It's basically like Anubias Nana Petite, except it has these elongated pointy leaves. Very pretty stuff, and I think it'll be a great little detail plant, and I'm super excited to be trying this stuff out. But this stuff I'm all gonna put in between the rocks and on the rocks to add a little bit of detail. And then the final plant I'm going to be adding, this one you should be able to see a little bit better. This is mini Philippine Java fern, and this is full size. So you can see it only gets about 5 or 6 inches. Pretty small stuff, and really will go good with the needle leaf Java fern I have in there because it's about the same size, but it stays nice and small. So I'll be able to use this in areas where I'd want the Java fern, but the Java fern just gets too big for. So I'm excited to put this in there as well, and I'll show you guys all that now. So when I'm adding epiphyte plants, I usually just like to wedge them into the place. Like all this Java fern you see me playing with here, that's all just wedged in. Same with this buse up here as well. Everything's just kind of wedged into place. So I'm gonna see if I can get this in a good spot without having to use any super glue or anything. But worst case scenario, I'll have to pull out the super glue and stick it in place. And it's quite a weird spot where I want it. It's where the wood's nice and flat. So I think I may need to go grab the super glue for this. Actually, that sits pretty good in there and may be able to stick. And then there's a little hole right here that I think this one may sit in. And honestly, I think that should be good. It's just a little bit of extra detail and will hopefully drape down some roots that'll look pretty cool. Where I have this Anubias, it's a little bit, or not Anubias, this new Bucephalandra, it's a little bit bare, so I'm going to mix in some Anubias Nana Petite. Now this stuff has nice long roots, so I can just wedge those down into the substrate and it should stick in place for me. I'm actually going to use some tweezers to plant this. Because it has the roots, I can just shove them in. Oh. And it should stay relatively in place. Maybe I'll use a couple of the rocks to hold it down. There we go. And then last one, we'll put right in here. And this should all, it's a little loose right now, but it should generally stay in place, and eventually the roots will take hold and this will start growing for me. And this rock is where I'm gonna home our jalapeno, not Bucephalandra, Anubias. It's very bare, and it's like the biggest focal piece in this tank, so I wanted to add a little bit of plants to this to make it pop a bit more. There's a nice little gap right here that I can kind of wedge things into, hopefully. There we go. And I only had 3 of this. I wanted to leave some in the immersed planter because it is doing so well. But these should all stick in place, and I think they'll look really good there. They'll add a little bit of green to the rocks, and just little details like this can make a big difference in a scape. There we have it, guys. A little bit more green added, and a couple small little plants that'll eventually probably get too big for where they are, but then I can just trim them up, and Anubias and Java Fern always sell well. So this video is a little bit different than my usual kind. I'm kind of just rambling and talking about plants, but if you guys like this kind of video, make sure to drop a like and let me know down below in the comments. These are super easy to make and I enjoy making them, so if you guys like them, even better. Also, make sure to let me know what kind of fish you guys want to see in here. I really want to get your opinions. It's a big tank, 40 gallons, and there's tons of plants, so it should be able to handle pretty significant bioload. So let me know down below what you guys would like to see in here, because I really want to get your opinion. But anyways, guys, this was Calum's Fish Tanks. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.